People are going to be like, what is up there? And people who are listening, they're like, what?
Oh my gosh. Sorry guys. We just we got a little caught up in looking down memories past
Of 2024.
What a year it's been. What a freak ass year.
What a year. Okay, actually
Sorry,
I really hope the camera is on you at that moment.
Literally, I choked. Imagine I'm like, wow, 2024. Wow.
I was actually saying this at amazing start.
Hey guys, welcome back to the episode.
Actually, us in season 1.
Literally.
Season 1, don't you remember her? She was Zol at the beginning of 2024.
Season 1 of Spitball. Oh my God, can we talk about it? Good morning, Los Angeles.
We launched Spitball 12 months ago.
That is like so crazy. And I don't mean this to sound how it feels so much longer.
It does. It does.
I really don't think people understand the work that has gone in to it.
I'm incredibly proud of us.
Me too.
I think to roll out 2 full seasons, 40 episodes of our podcast, to just like keep going, keep developing, keep advancing the way that we have, like all of the new stuff that we have been able to bring in. I mean, it's almost worth watching the first episode back just to be like, what has changed? You know, like, is our chemistry actually better? Are we able to like transition from one thing to the next easier? Like, have we become better podcasters?
Yeah,
it's so interesting.
I think so. I mean, if you look back on our first episode, literally too, I'll never forget all the comments were like, get new mics, get new mics, get a new mic. I was like, okay. Do you remember the day I called you? I was like, they said we gotta get new mics.
And we did.
And we did.
And thank God.
I'm really proud of Spitball because I feel like we had this idea. We made it happen. I remember we did, if you're not familiar, we started launching sketches like the last like week of December last year. And we had a Christmas sketch about how we like had like Spitball, our podcast was like under the tree like for Christmas and stuff.
Right.
I feel like so much work has gone into it and we had like a vision. We've done like a good job and I hope it continues to grow.
I'm sure.
Someone give us money now.
Right. No, I said this at my table at Friendsgiving and I've been reiterating it since. I think 2024 has been my best year yet.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. You have had a really wonderful year.
Thank you. I mean, and Spitball is a huge part of that. Like, that's the first thing that I say when I'm like, it's been the best year, is I launched my podcast this year at the beginning of it. And that includes, again, like 2 full seasons is incredible because, again, like, first of all, not that many people will put their stuff out there. Second of all, after they do, they don't continue to. And so that's what I feel really proud of us for doing, is just continuing to invest in it and wanting to make it better and not being so paralyzed by the work that we're doing because we're like, no, it's not good enough, or oh, it needs to be perfect. Like, we've just continued to build and make it better. And that is a huge win. Among all the other wonderful things that happened this year, do you have a win as well that sticks out for you this year?
Getting sober. That's my biggest win. I feel like I had a lot of big wins throughout the year as well. I got sober. I fell in love. I got a new job in a field that like I think is very cool. I got also another job, and I feel like I also like really, as this year comes to a close, as a year comes to these clothes, I really feel like I have a pivot in mind that I want to take with me into the new year. I feel like I've really kind of reorganized my values and my aspirations and my ambitions, and I have like for the first time in a little while, it feels like I have a plan. I feel like this year was really like kind of challenging in the art department. Oh yeah. You know? And I spent a lot of time feeling like, where do we go from here? You know, like doing auditions this year that just was like, what? I feel like the industry has been in like such a standstill, and like, not to sound vague, it's just that I don't really want to get into it, but I feel like I have new aspirations that give me hope and faith that I'm like going after in the new year.
Absolutely, which is just the best feeling, I think. I mean, I remember last year having so many like goals for 2024, and I remember thinking like 2024 is going to be an amazing year for me, and I want to accomplish a lot, and I want to grow and just be a new person ultimately. I mean, because my birthday is so close to the end of the year, it almost kind of matches up that way, where it feels like this is the next year of my life as well as the next year on the calendar. So it always feels like, oh, okay, so how was 25? It kind of makes it a little bit of an easier marker for me, because it's like from my birthday on to the next. And I remember you saying that for you, 26 was going to be your big one, and has always been like a really important number for you. And that's what I'm approaching now in a couple weeks, or this week, or I am 26 already.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whenever this episode comes out. But I'm probably already 26, which is crazy, but also exciting. And one of the very many lessons that I've learned this year is, to just continue to grow instead of looking back, which we'll kind of share with you now.
Absolutely. We thought it would be a good idea as this year comes to a close. We're celebrating wins. We're, mourning losses. We're feeling all of the feels. But we kind of wanted to collect and make a list of life lessons that we have established throughout our time here on Earth, and share them with you, so that maybe you might find it valuable to take with you into the new year.
Yes.
So we've both made lists of little lessons. And I wish I was trying like really hard to think of like really niche things that like I do and say. So I think like I will also think of more stuff throughout the episode, but Definitely. I'd love if you started us off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm going to cheat and just like, because I already kind of gave the top one when I said like about how we continue to grow and stuff. I mean, the first one that I wrote down was something that I read from someone else, which was that life only gets better.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no real I was going to say there's no productivity in looking back, and that's not true, right? Because we can learn a lot from the past. More of what I mean by that is we shouldn't judge ourselves retroactively. And our hindsight is, of course, it's so clear now. It's to us, it's like, oh my gosh, why didn't I just start doing that earlier? Or this is so wonderful, I just wish that I did this earlier. And it's just like, what's the point in saying that?
Yeah.
Because you have it now, and you've arrived at that point now because of what happened in your past. You know what I mean? So that's my like disclaimer one, but I already talked about this, so I'm not going to say it on my list. Okay. The one that I want to start with, I'm going out of order here, but I'm going to start with never show up empty-handed.
Oh, that is a good one.
That is just like a general like human rule, I think. It's just like if you are going to another person's home, like just bring something. Bring it doesn't have to be like an expensive gift or anything, but just bring something, even if it's just like a snack for the both of you to have there. Like, just something. And it's not like every time you go over to a friend's house, like bring something. More just like at a party or like a gathering of some sort. If you are going, contribute as a whole. Because hosting is difficult. And a lot of work on one person. So it makes it a whole lot easier when everyone collectively is like, well, I'm going to bring this. And it kind of becomes more of like a potluck situation. Or if you're going to a wedding or a birthday or something, like a gift is, again, like perhaps expected there, but it doesn't have to be a traditional gift that's like, I wrapped this and I brought this. It can just be something like a bottle of wine or just like something that you like brought along the way with you, just, or food, drinks, like really anything. That way you can be like, I came, but I'm not just here to like soak in the space and just be a part of the party. Like I've also contributed.
I love that. Especially like, because it also kind of goes like with the idea that, I don't know, I always get flattered when someone shows up with something for me and they're like, oh, I thought you might like this, or I thought we could share this, or whatever. I think that's like a really great piece of advice.
Totally. Or flowers even. Just like something like, again, simple. But it's just like, I am not walking into your home without anything, you know?
Love that.
Especially if you're going to be like eating there, you know?
That feels like such an adult thing too.
Right. Which is, again, why it's something I've written down now, right? Like it's a life lesson that I'm like, oh, got it. Definitely that.
Love.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to... Okay, I said this on an episode recently, but I am going to reiterate it because I think it's so important. I said, weed your garden. Don't hang out with people who make you feel bad. I really think that, like, we get kind of caught up in, like, the not wanting confrontation, or like, it's so funny because I feel like there's been times in my life where it's like, I know someone's not good for me, or a friend, like, it's hard when you realize that your friend is a bad person. I don't know if you've ever been in that situation, but you're like, oh, my friend, I'm realizing, is a bad person.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think, like, obviously you should have loyalty to your friends, you should be a good friend, but if you're what's the word? Oh my God, what is the word? Oh my God, if you're observing that, like, someone is doing bad things or making you feel bad or making you feel like shit, like, don't stick around. I had someone in my life like that for a very long time where I just was like, I never want to have to, like, come face to face with the uncomfortable confrontation of telling them that I simply just don't like them.
Yep.
And I don't like the way they've treated me. And so it's just easier to let them treat me like that forever. And it's like, no, it's too, like, life is too short, and it doesn't have to be a big, like, blow up. When I eventually did say something to that person, I ended up just saying, like, we're just growing up and growing apart. There doesn't need to be, like, a big, like, blowout about it. That's just it. So don't spend time appeasing people who are not, like, contributing to your life in a way that feels abundant or positive.
Totally. I think I would add on to that too, and sort of like challenging it in the same way. That's kind of like, you can also, that confrontation can just be like an alert of like, hey, I've noticed this kind of behavior, and it doesn't have to be like, snip, 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 you're out of my life. I mean, again, if it's like a genuine bad person and you're like, oh no, like everything that you're doing misaligns with me, then it's out.
Yeah.
But because one of the things that I have on mine as well is also to forgive.
Oh, I'm so bad at that.
It's tough. But I like wrote like a paragraph which for each of them, because I was like, what do I mean by this? And I wrote, forgive them for you.
Yeah.
Like, reuniting can be a really beautiful thing if you allow yourself to let things go and move on. And I think it blends in well with that one, because I think give people chances. I think give like your friends grace. But the big asterisk there is like, if you know them, if you know like who they are to their core as a good person, if you know that you have shared a lot with them and there is something special to hold on to, and losing that is really going to upset you, it doesn't have to be like, I'm done with you, but you can see based on the conversation if they are worth sticking around, you know?
Yeah.
And it's really hard to cut people out. It's very difficult to be like, I no longer want to be around you. And if you do arrive at that point, I think you're absolutely right that it's just like, it's fear that keeps people from doing that, because they're like, I don't want to upset them, or I don't want anything to change, or I don't want conflict. And one of my really good friends is in that situation right now where they have a friend who sucks, and they always tell me about it, and they're like, I don't want to be around that person, and they're really mean to everyone else, and I don't know what to do about it.
Shit.
And they have unfortunately not taken my advice yet and communicated to them about it. So they kind of continue to live in that misery. And it's just like, you are going to need to make the brave choice of doing something at some point, or else things won't change.
Yeah, that is a huge thing. I know. I know people in my life like that who I'm not really like attached to this person, but I know people who are, and they just kind of like enable this person in question to continue to treat them and everyone that comes around them like garbage. And I'm kind of like, at a certain point, you're enabling this behavior by not saying anything, and you're not doing them any favors, because they're going to continue to treat people like shit. Then they're going to go out in the world, get their ass handed to them. Whereas like you guys could literally sit your friend down and literally be like, you got to get your act together, man. Why are you treating people like this?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you do them a favor by informing them of it now. And it doesn't have to be in a nasty way, you know?
Yeah, I want to say something on the topic of forgiveness, because like when you said that, I was like, oh, I'm so bad at that. But it makes me think of a situation that you're aware of, obviously. But like I have always told myself like I'm really bad at forgiving, but like it does feel like the moments, like it's good to do it for you, because you look back on like things, people, situations in your life that like feel so at the moment like I could never forgive this, and then like eventually you just find it in a certain way, and it's like your forgiveness thing I feel goes a little bit hand in hand in the situation that I'm referring to about my like, you know, letting go of people. Mm-hmm. And it's like I was in that situation a while ago where it was like I had someone that I really cared about and thought like I can care about this person into like making the situation work, and then you just reach a point where you're like, it's not working for either of us, it's bad, we have to like leave each other. And I like was able to like move on and forgive that situation in the way that like I just feel better. It feels better to forgive a situation and not to like not hang on to things, you know what I mean?
Totally.
And to be able to like see that person or see the situation and be like, we're good.
Right.
It feels so much better.
Like you don't need to rehash any of that in order to move forward when that time has passed and you're both able to accept like whatever that was, we move on.
And it's also what we talk about too, where it's like you are also allowed to forgive people and still stand your ground on your boundaries. Mm-hmm. Like you can be like, I forgive you and we're good. And you know what? It was great to see you, but we don't need to talk. We don't need to talk anymore. You know, I wish you like, it's what we like say, right? It's like, I hope you eat, just not at my table.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were just kind of in this situation too. Like earlier this week, I texted you when I was like, I feel like something that I've definitely been trying to do too is like damage control in the moment situations, right? Yeah. Something happens, somebody says something, some text happens or whatever, and it's like, whoa, what is this? And it immediately is like anger or like confusion, frustration, aggression. And you know, you were one of the first people I text when I'm like, hey, this just happened. Can you believe this? And it's like, it's good to be able to just be like, to take a second and take a step back.
Yeah.
Because nothing is going to resolve if you, in situations of like cutting people out or people upsetting you and stuff, like you aren't going to come out as the better person if you react like catty. If you say something nasty back, it's not warranted because somebody else said something nasty back to you. Like it's more of like, which is kind of a lesson. I didn't write this one down, but I have told you this as well. Leave a paper trail that you are unashamed of. Yeah. Like if somebody pisses you off and says something, like it is so much better. I know it might not feel like it, but like just don't send a nasty paragraph back, because it's just never gonna be good to have that out there, you know, who in whatever context. It's just like, yes, this person upset you or has done whatever, whenever, you will always be better by either being silent or by giving that person empathy and just being like, you know what, they're just a person too. They probably didn't mean it like that. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, if they did, it's just like, whatever. Why should I get upset by it?
Yeah, you're so right. I would add that, like, I want to tack onto that the lesson of don't act on emotion. Like, because we do this a lot for each other, which is funny because half the time when I'm like, if I'm angry or something, like you are one of those people where I'll be like, get this or whatever. And like, we can have like a moment where we're like, oh my God, what the hell, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, even when the situation feels insane, and even in times where like I was like in that really insane situation, like you still helped me like step back from situations and be like, let's take a second. And I really think like taking time to not act on emotion is important because you'll say something that you don't mean, or you'll just match their energy.
If somebody else is nasty toward you and you are able to let that ricochet off of you in a professional, presentable manner, I'm sorry, maybe I'm wrong, but like I will die on that hill that is the more like, that's the power move. That's the like, you can't get to me. You think you can pull out some nasty words from me? I'm not going to do that. Like, you don't get that, you know?
Ugh, yeah.
Sometimes it feels like, oh, I want to be petty and I want to be mean. I want to make them feel like this. And it's like, you're not going to hurt them any more than like their anger is just going to twist back around and give it back to you. It is so much better to just be like, oh, wow. Okay. Well, here's this.
Yep.
All of the conflicts that happen in my life, I want to stay consistent with leaving a good paper trail, leaving good experiences, good interactions between everybody that I meet, while at the same time being true to myself and making sure that everything I need to say is still out there. It's just the way that you communicate it, right?
Yeah.
Like inform people, but don't do it with like, well, you know what? It's more like, hey, I see why this happened, and I just want to let you know that this is what's happening from my perspective. And if that's different for you, that's totally cool. Just wanted to let you know that this is how I see it. Bye.
And it's like, and don't jeopardize your character that you know to be true just to get even in a moment.
Well said.
Thank you. That was great. Shall I share one of my more lighthearted ones?
Sure. Let's switch up the vibe lately.
This is, okay. You've heard me say this before. If you know me, you've heard me say this before. It's one of like literally my life's biggest, most golden rules, and I'm not even trying to be funny. Always try the Baja Blast in the drive-thru line.
I'm so glad you said that.
I say that to everyone every time we're at Taco Bell. They hand you the Baja Blast. They hand you the straw. Before you do anything, you put the straw in and you take a sip. Because you don't want to get home. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten home. I'm ready for the Baja Blast. I take a sip and like the soda machine was out and it tastes like garbage. And I've had times where I've done my trick and I do it and it's like, oh, something's wrong with the machine. I need a new drink. Thank you.
Enough said. Enough said. That's a really good one. I don't know if I had any like super, super lighthearted ones. I was like literally like in my bed and I was like, oh, this. Like I was like writing up things. I was like, I'm angry. I tag you.
Okay. Okay. I wrote this one. There's no right way to fit in. There's millions of people on this earth doing different things. You already fit in by existing, so don't put yourself in harm's way or succumb to peer pressure. It's not worth it. I say this only because I was somebody who started doing drugs and drinking and stuff at a very young age for personal reasons, yes, but also because it's what everyone was doing. And, when I started to like grow up, I knew that I had like a problem, and I could always feel that I had this problem with substance abuse, but I wouldn't let myself like navigate that because I was afraid if I was sober, I wouldn't fit in, or like I wouldn't like be able to roll with everybody. So I continued to do things like drugs, like drink and partake in drugs use that I knew I wasn't doing normally, just because I was like, this is how I fit in, Yeah. And so it's like just kind of the idea that it's like, you don't have to do anything to feel like you fit in. Like, just do you, and you will fit into the parts of life that are right for you.
Yes, that part. Like, your superpower is you, and it might feel like the group that you're around is the only community in the world ever, and you're just like, well, this is what they're doing, so this is what everybody is doing. And that's just not the case. It's like, it's kind of like at the school like club fair or like the organization fair, where it's like every booth offers something different. And if you vibe with like computers and robotics and stuff, like join that club.
Yeah.
And all of them are going to be in on it. But if you are somebody who genuinely does not enjoy any of that and you join that club, you're going to be so unhappy. You're just going to be doing things that is confusing.
Yeah.
You know? So join the club that you want to rock and that you feel excited to be a part of.
I can't tell you how many times I did things when I was younger just because I was like, oh, like this is what people are doing or this is cool. And then like I put myself in situations where like someone had given me a drug telling me it was one thing and then it turned out to be something totally different. And it's like, that's just scary and bad. I didn't need to be doing that.
For me, I think it was more in like a with like sex stuff growing up. I felt super behind because all of my friends, which like who knows if they were telling the truth, you know? Like it was just what kids were saying, but it felt like everyone in my friend group was like, oh, well, like I hooked up with this guy, or like, oh, well, like he and I like made out in his car, or like, oh, well, I kissed him and like, you know, I slept with him. And I was like, I am having none of these experiences and I am behind or I'm not fitting in. And it just felt so isolating and I felt behind.
Yeah.
But then, like, you grow up and then you start having, like, adult conversations with people. And then you hear people say things like, oh, I actually lost my virginity, like, in my late 20s. Or, like, oh, I actually didn't have my first kiss till I was, like, 19. And you hear, like, other experiences and you're like, oh, my God. I was not last on the roster. I was just last with my friend group who was just feeding me all of this information that they were probably just trying to fit in too and try to look cool and whatever. And it's just like, that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah. Something that has been at the forefront of my life literally recently is like, I have a tendency to like, when I'm struggling, I like to talk about it. I'm one of those people, I tell on myself. I can't keep things in. If I'm going through a hard time, I have to tell someone. And if I'm like having financial stress, like I got to tell somebody and I have to let it out or whatever it is. And something like I'm really realizing is that I'm like, everyone is going through stuff and struggling, but not as many people like to talk about it, you know? So it's like, it feels like, oh my God, I'm having like money trouble. How does everyone else have it figured out? They don't. Or like, oh my God, I'm so behind. Like I haven't lost my virginity yet, or I haven't done this sexual thing or whatever. It's like, so has a ton of people. Like the world is so huge. You can't just assume it's just you.
Yeah. And again, I don't think I wrote this one down, but I'm going to tack that on to another one, which is such a huge thing that I literally haven't even figured out and I'm still trying to figure it out. And I don't even know how to say it, but it's like your life is about you. Yeah. And the things that you tell yourself and the things that you believe about yourself, like no one else is going to change that. You might think like, oh, once I have a boyfriend or girlfriend, then I will feel better. Or once I lose my virginity, I will feel better. Once I get this job, I will feel better. Once this, once that. And it's like, you are going to be what makes you feel better. I think the lesson that I wrote out was the only thing that you can control is your attitude. Yep. Like you cannot control your upbringing. You cannot control other people's actions or emotions. They all are generally going to contribute to how you feel about it and how you react, but you have full control to be like, I don't actually care. Or I'm happy that this happened. I'm going to focus on that instead of that. That is fully within your control. And it's really, really difficult to exercise that, which is, again, why I'm not mastered in that. Like stuff happens to me. And again, I will text my friends and be like, this just happened. Can you believe it? I don't know what to do. And I want to be better at like seeing these things that I might have initially reacted to and be like, okay, I'm judging them or I'm judging this action or I don't like this and now I need to tell everyone about it. And I'm trying to shift that more into this has come at me. How do I feel about it? Is that where I want to internalize that? Okay. What do I feel? Great. Okay. Let's move forward. How does it serve me? Yeah. You know?
You're right about like your life is about you. And that like truly is something I forget all the time where it's like it feels so easy to like think like, oh, like I have to make everything around me good and whatever. But it's like if you're not focusing on yourself and your growth and your character, then like that is like your mission. That's your assignment like here on earth. And again, it's like I love that saying of like wherever you go, there you are. You got to make sure you like yourself.
I like that. I like that a lot. That's like you'll never, the way that you like look at things, like, you know, your nose kind of in frame and like your hands in front of you and your body below you, like you will never not be this. No matter like what you book or who's in your life or like whatever you have, like you will always just be in this POV.
Yep.
And you'll have this up here full of thoughts. So you might as well populate it with positivity and kindness and compassion. And a lot of the times that includes unlearning a lot of the bullshit that we went through when we were kids.
Yeah. It's like, I think within this big conversation, like kind of the theme of what we're talking about, it's like when someone treats you in a way that you identify as something you don't like don't take that. They're not leading by example. They're giving you like of what you should be doing. Like they're giving you an example of what you shouldn't do. So it's like, just make sure like be like have the capacity to identify right from wrong in your eyes.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Give us one, Rashi.
Okay, I have one that again will just like segue this really nicely because we just said your life is all about you, and now in kind of a contradiction to that, my lesson is it's worth making the effort to invest in your relationships, and that one is definitely a lesson I think the past couple of years that have really strengthened for me, but like FaceTime your friends that don't live here, call your family regularly, text your friends that have shows that you didn't make it to and ask them how it was. Text all the people that you care about Happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and all of it. Like, it seems like this big daunting thing, and I kind of, I feel like it's a trend to be like, oh, I'm a bad texter. Oh, I'm bad at texting. I'm bad at this. And it's just like, I'm starting to really dislike that. Like, I totally get it. And the anxiety of like receiving a text and being like, oh, I have to respond to this and then forgetting to respond and not real. Totally understand that. But to claim that you are just notoriously a bad texter, you're just going to continue to push people off. And I had a friendship that, you know, I don't want to say ended necessarily this year because we didn't really like talk about it, but I had a friend who I excused for a really long time who wasn't reaching back out. Yeah. And I was just texting being like, hope you're well and happy Thanksgiving and all of these things. And eventually, like at the beginning of the year, he was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like such a bad texter. Like, let's catch up. Let's FaceTime. We had a great FaceTime to catch up. And on that FaceTime, we were like, let's commit to like talking more. Like, I really do want that. And then the same thing continued, where it was just me reaching out. And then again, nothing happened, but I just was like, okay, I'm done. I'm just not going to reach out anymore. And there's no ill will, but it's just like, I'm making an effort. I would like to have some sort of effort returned. I gave that chance of like, I totally understand that things are busy and people are bad at texting. But I personally believe that something that I really value with my friendships and my relationships is people who make the effort. People who will continue to, this is another lesson, show up. Like the people that show up, I have so many amazing friends that show up for me in insanely measurable ways. Like just along the lines of like, wishing me good luck to a show that they can't come to or asking how it was if they didn't come to it, if they aren't already coming to all of them, you know, or friends that just keep up with me and ask about things or cheer me on. And it's just like, you know, when friends are by your side, it doesn't have to be texting every day or calling or FaceTiming. It's like, you don't have to keep communicating with the people that you're investing in, but it's just about making it known that you are still there. And it's transparent when you're not.
Yeah. That is very important. And it's honestly, what I have to say about that is my next thing from my list.
Please.
And literally, it's just that I've learned that at the core of love is consideration.
Yeah.
I really truly believe that. And like, I think it goes hand in hand with what you were just saying, where it's like a lot of people like spend a lot of time wondering like, what is love? Like, what is it? What are we looking for? What really is it? And I really do think that is it. I think it's consideration. And it's like, my love language that I like to receive is words of affirmation. But at the same time, it's, I feel my most loved when my girlfriend stopped on the way to my house to get herself a soda and she got me one too, you know, or someone just says something to me like, this made me think of you, or I brought you this because I knew you'd like it, or hey, I watched this TV show and it made me think you might like it. Like, at the core of love is the consideration of other people, and I think that is just, to me, how I feel my most loved.
Absolutely. I think you're completely right. And another way of saying that too, like specifically more, I think with partners, but I think it can absolutely extend to friends too, is anticipating each other's needs, right? Like, like again, in that situation that you brought up, like, oh, I'm really thirsty. Oh, I bet Rowan's probably thirsty too. I should get her a drink. Thinking Rowan's gonna need a drink. I know I need a drink. I'm gonna get us both a drink. You know?
Yeah.
It's you're so right. It's just thinking about the other person and what they might need or want, and being able to deliver and do that despite it being an extra effort on your part.
Totally.
That's a really good one. I like it.
With another.
Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. This one is kind of a lighthearted one, but this one I'll share. Okay, so I thought of this most recently because it's been a very busy month overall. I feel like I've gone to a lot of like PR events lately. A lot of just like parties and like things that are just like, you know, run by brands and stuff like that. And I wrote this rule down: when you walk into a room, don't look around. 'Cause you're the one to look at. And there's nothing more like hungry than like looking around and like, you know, like trying to scan the room, like, who are you looking for? You know, if it's like obviously your group, be with your group, but focus on the group. You know, like the vibe is here, and if anybody else is like, you know, cool that you're trying to look out for or whatever, like it just, I feel that it almost makes me like look like desperate, or being like, oh, like the people I'm with, like they aren't like cool enough. I need to like look around and make it known or whatever. And it's just like, the room is here. Be present. Like, explore, discover the room naturally, instead of being like self-conscious and like wondering where you're going and whatever and whatnot, you know?
I like that.
So walk in, hold your head up high, and with purpose, walk in.
Yeah. I like that. It definitely is like a tip for confidence, for sure.
Yeah. And just as a party guest too.
Yes. Okay, I have like literally 3 I kind of want to try to squeeze in.
Knock all 3 out.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna start. Well, we can still go back and forth, but I'm gonna say this one. Okay. If someone is telling you something like they don't want a relationship or they're not interested,
believe
them. But and especially like, I know it's hard because it's like, if they're telling. Okay, I've been in particularly a huge situation that occupied a big portion of my time, was someone telling me something like that, and I didn't believe them because their actions felt so different. I was like, well, how can that be true? How can it be true that you don't want this, but we're still doing all this, you know? Like, and I really was able to, I really had it in my head that I was like, she doesn't, you know, mean that, because her actions say otherwise. But if someone's telling you something, you have to listen to them. Yeah. Because you might be right. I mean, you might be like, I can see that your heart's in a different place than your brain, but that's not your responsibility to figure out.
Yes.
And the thing is that it's like, if someone tells you something, believe them. And like in my case, I put an end to something that was headed nowhere. And the second I did, I fell in love. and I'm more happy than I've ever been. You
Totally.
know? So it's like, don't hold off on things that are going nowhere because you have a different narrative in your mind about something when someone is like blatantly telling you like, no.
I so relate to that. It's like, I'm sure a lot of people do, right? It's like we almost believe like we have some sort of like extra intelligence or knowledge or grasp
or we know
of the
better.
situation. Yeah.
Like, I know, I can see you don't mean that.
And it's like, you can't play God. Like, you can't just be from above being like, oh, you're going to change your mind. And it's like, no.
Yeah, and then you're just setting yourself up for success because it's like, you can be like, well, she tells me she doesn't want anything, but then she's like, you know, we're doing all this stuff together, but months have gone by and she still doesn't want me. Bitch, she told you that.
Right.
Why are you surprised?
Exactly. Like, you are allowing for that kind of behavior. You're enabling it. You're letting it continue to go on.
Yeah. So.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And that leads into your second and third?
Well, you go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to. I just mean, I'm just going to try to.
Got 3 all going. Okay.
I guess so. My other 2 are short.
Okay. I've got one. Don't make it a habit to cancel plans or show up late.
Yes.
Kind of discussed this one a little bit before of like tardiness overall, but like my language there is very specific. Don't make it a habit.
Yeah.
Because cancel plans if you need to. Like, if you're feeling sick or you were like, I committed to something and now I can't do it because of XYZ, understandable. Happens. Totally okay. Communicate that and let them know, hey, I know I said that I could do this. I actually cannot do this because of this. Making it a habit is overall, I think, gonna like slowly chip away at like your reputation. You know?
Yeah.
I'm like thinking of people in my head of like, oh, I know someone who cancels plans all the time. Oh, I know someone who is always late. And I would never want to be that person.
Because you don't want to be like the unreliable friend.
Yeah. You don't want to be the friend that's just like, oh, I know that they're going to show up late, so let's tell them this time. Mm-hmm. Or, oh, I know that they're going to cancel plans, so I'm going to make other plans just in case they cancel because they probably will.
Yeah.
Like, again, I know those people. I don't love those people. I just can't. I want to keep my closest circle of people to be individuals that I admire and that inspire me. And those are, I think, just habits that I feel like I have outgrown. I wasn't a notorious flaker by any means, but I definitely was late a lot. And I hate to have that reputation. So I show up super early now. And I really try to make it known that like if I tell you that I'm doing something, I am gonna show up and be there, and I'm gonna be there early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's like when it really comes down to it, it's like, do you want to be the friend that you like that shows up or the friend that's late or whatever?
Yeah.
And I try to do that. I really try to be the friend that shows up and stuff. But like, you're right, like life gets in the way, but
yeah,
we do our best. And I know it's like, you don't want to make a reputation for yourself that's negative like that.
Because then like, I feel like then with like mutual friends, that becomes like the discussion around them, right? Like of friends on the outside being like, oh yeah, hey, like I'm gonna hang with this person, but it's this person, so should we just make other plans? And it's just kind of like, yeah, because we know that they're not coming.
Ugh, yeah.
That's
tough. Okay, my one that I was also gonna say, okay, I have 2, but this one, some of you aren't gonna like to hear this.
Oh boy.
This is a hot take of mine. You know how we've all been asking like, what's the secret to life forever, before Mordecai told us that it was when Buzz Lightyear kills Zurg and kills Zurg. I think the secret to life is waking up early. I say this all the time. I don't consider myself a morning person. I don't consider myself any type of person. I am nothing. But I really think the secret to life is waking up, because here's my logic. It's not that I'm like, whoa, I love the mornings. If I get up and I go to my 6 a.m. Pilates and then I stop at the grocery store on my way home and then I clock in to work from home at 9 and then I get off work at 5, we're done.
We're done.
I worked out. I did my I already did like my checks. Now my evening is for my social life, my girlfriend, my friends, my TV shows, my whatever it is. And I really think that like the things that you want to put off doing, like working out or running errands or whatever, get up early, do it in the morning, and the world will be your oyster.
I'm so unbelievably with you. I know we've talked about it too in the context of like, even if you don't have anything to do or go to yet, let's say you have to go to the office by 9 a.m. and you usually would wake up at 8 and then leave at 8:30. What if you had an extra 30 minutes of sitting on your couch with a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
You know? And I have been loving that time in the morning because it's like, let me become a person. Let me settle in. Let me see all the extra tasks that I have that I could be doing because I have an abundance of time now.
Yeah.
The literal, like, the biggest stress for so many people is I don't have time. I'm busy. I'm running from this place to this. I need to do this and I have to get this done. I still have to do this and I have to talk to this person. I can't, like, there's so many things to do and so many things that you can get ahead of when you have ample amount of time, and it's usually in the morning because your daytime is probably full of shit already. So leave that time in the morning. Don't push it off until later, and then you have the entire day to feel good about having woken up early. Like the worst will be when you actually open your eyes and you're like, okay, this sucks and I just want to lay down. But put your feet on the ground and actually put all of your energy back into the earth.
Agreed.
Like you've just put like hopefully about 8 hours into your bed. All of your energy is sucking you down in there. But once you step onto the ground, you're literally grounding yourself.
Yep.
This is kind of funny too, but I think I've told you this before. My dad used to say this when I was a kid. He would always go, the devil pulls you back in bed.
Oh, I have heard you say that. That's
the devil
crazy.
pulls you back in bed. And I'm like,
like,
and
whoa.
period.
Like, whoa.
Right.
All right. You want to give us one?
Yes. Okay. Maybe this will be my last one, and then you top us off with your last.
I'll top, yeah.
Top me off.
Okay.
Ooh. Okay. This is what I wrote. This is technically number 15 on my list. But I'm gonna say it. The difference between people who succeed and people who miss their chance is taking the initiative. Opportunity needs to be grasped. Be willing, be daring, be ruthless. Me in my bed being like,
love.
This was also my fortune cookie from yesterday. Business is a lot like playing tennis. If you don't serve well, you lose.
Yeah.
And I happen to think that goes in, that's hand in hand with taking the initiative. Like, you will be given opportunities for sure. You know, like you can definitely be like, hey, like we wanted to work with you on this, or like, hey, like we were hoping to have you on here, whatever. Taking the opportunity, great. That's awesome. What can you do past that? Can you somehow be like, this was awesome. I loved this. If you're ever looking for an idea,
Yeah.
I actually have one as well.
Yeah.
That will be what separates you. Because so many people are just going to be like, that was awesome. Okay, like hopefully like the next one, you know?
Yeah. Make it happen.
Make it happen.
Literally, like, ask. You'll be so surprised how far in life you can go if you just ask.
Yes. Carve the path. Like, and like, honestly, this is my secret here too. Like, go the extra mile of like sending thank you emails. Go the extra mile of just like reaching out to people, even when it feels like, nah, this might not lead to anything, like whatever, just do it. They will remember you. It will be just one extra interaction that you have had that other people will not.
Yeah.
It'll just be better. It'll play out better. And again, it's you taking the initiative in your life rather than waiting for things to come to you.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad I actually saved that one for last because I believe that so strongly, and I definitely learned that this year.
Well, I actually would like to end with that because that feels so solid and I couldn't agree more. And I just feel like that is such like a good thing for everyone to take into the new year. If you're sitting around waiting for things to happen, remind yourself that you have the power to make those things happen. This is something my mom always says, and it's something I agree with. Every job I've ever gotten, she says this, is because I knew someone or I asked a question. And that's genuinely like same with me. Like I feel like every opportunity I've ever been presented was because like I got to know someone, I was inquisitive about them, and we connected, and then things happened.
True.
And you'll be so surprised at like, you know, these like actors out there who are getting the roles. Half of them, it's like, yes, they're auditioning, but like they're being referred because they worked with someone on the last set and they're like, you got to check out this person, or I know this person who's great for this role. So like make the connections, make the impressions, and make it happen.
Yes. And the last thing that I'll say about that too, because the way that we have discussed it has definitely been in a professional way of like business and opportunities and jobs. But I also want to say that it applies in a very personal context too. Like for you, Ro, like I mean, you already know, like I'm so overwhelmed by how much how proud I feel of you for being sober this year. I mean, like I'll never forget the conversations that we've had like since the beginning of all of that, you know, and that's yet another taking the initiative. Like it's being brave and being able to look at your life, and so many people the same way that you're like the next one, the same way can just be like, I'll get better, I'll be better, like things will get better. But it's actually like making the choice and deciding that I'm gonna make it better.
Thank you.
I love you a lot.
I love you a lot.
And this year has been amazing with you.
Oh, it has been. Oh my God, you're hitting me like right in the heart. And that is how we wrap out a year of Spitball. I love it. Season 2. That's a wrap.
That is a full wrap on season 2. Thank you to all of you ballers as well. Thank you for believing in this project and this production. Thank you for continuing to come back every Monday watching us. Thank you for your comments. Like we really do see them, and we specifically are always like, oh my gosh, this same person commented again too. Like we genuinely do remember all of our fans. So thank you so much for sticking it out with us, and we have so much more to come.
You've seen us go from the Nook to the studio. We just intend to keep growing, and it's been really, really fun, and we've really enjoyed it. So thank you for those of you who, whether you started the process with us or you hopped aboard halfway through, we're just happy you're here. And we wish you a safe and blessed and wonderful new year. As per our hiatus, you know, it's how it goes. We'll see you when we see you, and we wish you love in the meantime.
Yes. See you next year.
Spitball out. Good night,
Bye.
Los Angeles.
And that's a wrap.
I love you.